Welcome to Being James Bond, the longest-running James Bond podcast in the world.
Happy Friday! How is everyone doing? Welcome back to Being James Bond. I am your good buddy, head of section, as always, still basking in the glow from this past weekend. What an incredible experience. What a fantastic weekend. And again, as always, such a great crew, and I'm just still overwhelmed with gratitude for all the people that came out. The book signing was absolutely incredible, and I think I mentioned it a couple of days ago. Again, when you're doing something like that, you're putting yourself out there and you're just praying, please people show up to this thing. But we had a sold out crowd, and that was absolutely incredible. And honestly, just such a fun time. My favorite people in the world all in one place. So there you go. But today we are talking real espionage. We are talking real spycraft with a guy who I know has walked the walk for many years. Today we're talking with Dexter Ingram, and Dexter has a new book out. Dexter Ingram is the author of the new book, The Spy Archive, Hidden Lives, Secret Missions, and the History of Espionage. And this book is thorough, I have to tell you. So anybody who is interested in the world of espionage, this very well could be the best book, and maybe even the last book you read on the subject, because it is everything you want to know about espionage from its earliest incarnations to espionage today. And I can tell you, Dexter has absolutely walked the walk. Funny story, which I will probably talk about in the interview, so I don't want to give too much away. But I met Dexter many, many years ago. Real James Bond fan. You should see his place. I mean, a wonderful playland for James Bond fans. And I got to meet Dexter many years ago, and then for a while he sort of fell off the map, and I was always sort of wondering where did Dexter go? I haven't seen him in forever, and he resurfaced recently in the last couple of years, and I was like, oh hey, there you are. But when you find out where he's been, you'll realize, wow, this guy is for real. He is the real deal for sure. So that's it. I'm going to bring in Dexter so we can talk about his new book, The Spy Archive. Let's get to it.
Transmission begins from Moneypenny.
Dexter Ingram, welcome to Being James Bond. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, friend. I'm good. Thanks for having me. It's so good to see you again.
You too. It has been way too long. I'm trying to think how long ago that was that we met up. It's at least 12 13-ish years, something like that.
It was 2012, because we had the Exquisitely Evil event at the Spy Museum.
Yeah.
And you, me, Dave, a bunch of us got together.
That was really cool. And so just so people know, Dexter and I have met once before, and it was a fantastic day. We met up because we were going down, like you said, to DC. The Spy Museum had the Exquisitely Evil exhibit still. It might have even just opened, actually. So it might have been the first time I'm seeing it. Yeah. So we met up, and you were kind enough to take us back to your place on your boat. So we literally, I think we just walked over. We might have gotten lunch, but then we just walked over to the dock where your boat was docked and took a nice leisurely trip down. Is that the Potomac?
That was the Potomac. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Down to your place, and it was awesome. What a wonderful day. And then obviously your pad, your James Bond pad, which would make a lot of guys jealous, was a lot of fun. We hung out. I think we shot some pool and stuff at your place.
Yeah, we played some pinball, shot some pool, and just kind of geeked out together. Had some drinks. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, drinks, dinner. Yeah, it was a blast. We had a really good time. That was cool. So I think I'm not that I'm hinting for another invite for another visit or anything, but
you are always invited. Come on now, man. Your family. Do you remember? You kind of noticed my book, or your book was there. You were like, "Hey, you have my book," and I was like, "I did not know that was your book," and I was super excited. I was like, "These friends just get deeper and deeper and more fun."
Yeah. So you are joining the ranks, though, of fellas who are putting out books. And I have to tell you, I mean, I'm really just knowing what I know about you and your background. I know, and I wish I had a chance to completely read this book, but the bit that I've gone through, this book is extensive. You really get into some detail, history, and a lot of nooks and crannies. So please tell me about the book that we're talking about today.
Yeah, I'm excited. The book came out 2 weeks ago. It's called The Spy Archive: Hidden Lives, Secret Missions, and the History of Espionage. It basically starts, in Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt. It goes through, Greek and Roman times. It goes up to modern day, obviously, Cold War, the Industrial Age, and it really highlights some amazing people doing amazing things, especially many times when their country didn't always treat them well, So there's just these great stories of real heroes that are better than any movie you can imagine, and it's all true. It talks about early cipher devices like the Caesar cipher that was created, or the Cytel that was created, by the Spartans. It just is really fascinating. But at the heart of it all is the human piece, the human intelligence piece. It's that personal connections and people actually out there making a difference. With all the technology we have, that's wonderful. These are great tools, but it comes down to people in the end.
And again, honestly, this book really is extensive. I mean, I could see that it goes all the way back to, like you said, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Asia. I mean, this is a complete history of espionage at its core. And honestly, this is so the copy that I currently have is on the Kindle. How many pages is this book?
This book is 255 pages. Actually, sorry, I'm probably a little over, about 220 pages. And it's fun because a lot of my real life experience kind of fed into it. Like I've been working on it for a couple years, and a year ago I was on. I work for the State Department. I'm the director for countering violent extremism. I've led the Defeat ISIS coalition. I've spent 3 years at Interpol running their counterterrorism team. So a lot of it is just kind of this practical lived experience. But I flew to Mongolia. I was in Ulaanbaatar, and the history of Genghis Khan, and what he did, who he was, what he did for the world. And there's good and bad in everybody. I always tell my sons, there's not good guys or bad guys. There's people that do things that are, sometimes good and sometimes bad, and that's all kind of relative as well. But I was out there and I was like, I got to add this to the book because, you have your traditional Machiavelli, you have your Sun Tzu, but to put in something about Genghis Khan and the work that he did and the spycraft, it was special. And as I talk about it right now, I smile because these stories are true stories, and many people don't understand how spying and espionage throughout the history of the world has changed not only political boundaries, but political parties. There's so much behind the scenes that happens that shape the world we're in today that folks are not aware of.
No, that's very true. And so you're touching on something and I kind of asked you before we started. I said, is there anything I shouldn't mention? But I know that you have an extensive background in espionage and government work. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you kind of came to this.
Yeah, I'll say I got really lucky. I believe if you connect with people on the human level and you do what you love, typically you do it well, and opportunities present themselves based on that. And I remember seeing Top Gun in the 80s, and graduated high school, and I said, I want to do that. So I joined the Navy, and I got to fly. I got my wings. That was great. But life to me is like this giant buffet, right? I don't want to eat just one thing forever. I want to kind of sample these amazing kind of foods out there that are parts of my career. So I went to a think tank, and I was super fascinated with weapons of mass destruction. This is way before 9/11. Obviously, 9/11 happened, and I got a phone call to come run the terrorism policy for the brand new Homeland Security Committee that was created after 9/11. Loved that. Loved working with the interagency, whether it's the FBI or Secret Service or Coast Guard. It was a blast. I think leadership matters. I had a great boss at the time who was the former director of operations of the CIA. His name was John Gannon, and there was no ego there, and I learned so much from him. You walk into his office, he could have every award in the world, but he had his grandkids' pictures all over the wall and the drawings and stuff like that. And then I got a phone call when the State Department decided to put together a team to stop terrorists from getting weapons of mass destruction. And they said, would you like to be a part of that team? And I said, absolutely. So I got to help build that team out. I was the deputy director there. That was wonderful. I traveled all over the world. When North Korea tested its first nuclear device, Secretary of State said, Dexter, I need you to come up with a plan to stop North Korean nuclear proliferation. And at the time, you're kind of like, this is my job. This is what I do. But looking back on it, you're like, wow, we did that, and I traveled 100,000 miles that year, looked at air, land, and sea routes, worked with all kinds of different intelligence agencies and the national labs, and came up with this plan that I rolled out. And when you change things in the U.S. government, sometimes people are very skeptical, but I understood exactly each role that every major participant had to play, and I made all the jobs easier. So when we rolled it out to a very skeptical U.S. government, they all at the end applauded. They were like, that was really special. After that, I was a counterterrorism fellow at National Defense University, so I got paid to get a second master's degree. And then after that, I got paid to learn a language, so I learned Pashto. I grew my beard out. Pashto is what the Taliban speak. I spent a year in Helmand, Afghanistan, super kinetic. I spend more time in safe houses than I can share. A lot of kinetic activity, IED car bombs, explosions, and just very, very appreciative of that time working with our Afghan partners. That was a very special time for me, and I was very passionate. I could go in the field because I spoke the language and I looked the part. If I have a little hair on my face and I'm dressed, you think I'm Afghan. So I was able to go places and do things that most people weren't, especially most Americans. And that was really powerful. After Afghanistan, I came back and I had a really close relationship with the FBI, because when we were trying to stop terrorists from getting weapons of mass destruction, we had this mandate, but we had no money. And I remember the FBI said, Dexter, we have $1 million and we could help with X, Y, and Z. So we became really close partners. So after Afghanistan, the FBI called me up and they said, hey, we want you to come work for us for 3 years. So I got to work with my friends at the FBI and travel the world and do some really neat things there. And then after that, I got a phone call from Interpol and they said, we want you to come work for us for 3 years. And I was like, there's no way that's going to happen. But I had great bosses and great leadership. And I spent 3 years at Interpol traveling with the Secretary General, just working to counter terrorism all across the globe. Once I left Interpol, I led the Defeat ISIS Coalition, which is a coalition of 89 partners, including Interpol and NATO and others. That was really special because, we got to do things like roll out new ways of doing things. Traditionally, we focused on the Middle East, but we saw ISIS and other groups in Africa really getting kinetic. That means, dangerous and killing people through bombings. So we created the Africa Focus Group. I spent a lot of time in Africa working with our African partners on counterterrorism and defeating ISIS. And then most recently, I was the director for countering violent extremism at the State Department. So that means anybody who has some kind of hate of others, whether it's anti-Semitism, anti-Muslim hate, anti-LGBTQ, the manosphere, incels, neo-Nazis, far right, you name it. It could be jihadist extremists. It could be, the far right. It could be any of that. And our team worked with others around the world to kind of get ahead of that. There's so much mis and disinformation out there that we're seeing people getting radicalized in ways that, excuse me, that are slow. And when you're watching a video and somebody's talking about working out and they're talking about saving money, those are positive things. But then they start talking about, you know, basically very misogynistic type of things. And it goes down that road, and then it becomes the fear of others, right? Then it becomes sometimes violence. And people don't always see that. We see young people as young as 11 getting radicalized. So I don't talk about those in the book. That's going to be something I talk about probably in a book that comes out next year. So I'm super excited about that as well, because I'm retiring from government service after 30 amazing years.
Nice.
But yeah, again, when you do what you love and you connect with people, amazing things happen.
It's honestly, I'm just hearing you talk. I'm like, this guy is like a real life Jack Ryan. I mean, I feel like your whole life is basically like a Tom Clancy book. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Thanks. I don't think I'm better or worse than anybody. I know what I can do, and I'm always about the mission and the people. Like, anybody who works with me knows you'll never hear me go I, and I don't want anybody in my team saying me or I. It's the mission, it's the people. There's zero egos, and credit isn't something we expect. We want to just work with others, and I think your credibility means a lot, especially when you're working with international partners. So if I need a favor from my counterpart in Morocco or Italy or the UK or Spain, I literally will text them and say, "Hey, brother, I need a favor." And they know me. They know there's no ego. What I know, I'm going to share with them. I'm going to build things with them. I'm not going to roll something out that's already planned and say, "This is what we're doing." I'm going to have an idea and make sure that their input is there, and we're going to have a better product in the end. And that really helps when it comes to getting things done.
One of the things I noticed as you're speaking, one of the things that to me is noticeably missing is red tape and bureaucracy. I feel like whenever I'm sort of talking with somebody who's working in the government or in some federal role, et cetera, they're usually kind of talking about it's a lot of bureaucracy. It's a lot of tangled red tape that you have to sort of push through to get things done. It doesn't sound like that's your experience.
Well, something that I tell young people all the time is that, your instincts matter, right? If you're doing things just for you, you're missing the mark, and people can see that. When you're doing things because they're the right things to do, and you truly believe that, then it pretty much clears the way for you for the most part. I've been in a number of situations where I was somewhat junior and I was able to make certain calls. I knew it was the right call, and my leadership called me hours later saying, "What's going on?" And I told them, and they were like, "Wow, thank you." And oftentimes that led to me getting promoted. And I didn't do it to get promoted. I did it because it was the right thing to do. I think a lot of people kind of get paralyzed sometimes going, "How's this going to make me look? What should I, there's this slow kind of bureaucratic process, like you say. Typically when there's a problem, I'm the person they call, because I not only can think through things and give my recommendations, but I am typically at the tip of the spear. And I'm the guy they send into the field first to mess up whatever got messed up. We did that a lot in Africa, because you have to realize no matter who you're talking with, right, it's about people. And I have a lot of interagency friends in the U.S. government that I work with. But when it comes to certain countries that you want to partner with, they almost want to be perfect. And so things get stalled to a point where they're not happening. And I show up and I say, "I don't expect you to be perfect. This is what I'm thinking. What are you thinking?" And they go, "Wow, okay, this is a normal person here." And we build it out together, and we make things happen together. And it's special. I remember one time I got called, the Secretary of State at the time, I'm not going to say her name, but I got asked to go to the CIA, and we wanted to know what they knew, what they didn't know, and what they thought about something. And I got met at the front door of the agency by a bunch of lawyers, and it was just me. And they were like, "What's the angle here?" And I said, "There's no politics here. We just want to know on this key issue, what you know, what you don't know, what you think." And after 2 hours of talking, they were like, "You really have no agenda, like hidden agenda. There's no And I said, "Yeah, exactly." And that ability to connect with people, and I left with what we wanted. Well, what do you know? What do you don't know? What do you think? Um, that's a unique quality in DC, and it's really served me well. And I try to raise my sons to be able to be at that level as well. It's never about you. It's about the
Mm.
mission. It's about people. It's about saving lives. It's about saving money. It's about connecting.
That's terrific, and I'm very happy to hear that. First off, I'm almost shocked to hear that from again from your dealings in the government. I would almost think you might walk in with these ideals, but by the time you walk out, it's like, oof. But yeah, I mean, I think it's wonderful that you come from a place of just do the right thing and stick to doing the right thing, and then the right things will happen. Because it's something I kind of say in my daily life, but I know people in real life situations that's difficult sometimes. So that's terrific.
Yeah, thanks, but it's important also. I remember when I first came to DC, and there's so many people that are like, what do you do? And that was basically them saying, what can you do for me?
Mm.
Right. And you can see through that pretty easy. And I made sure that those were folks that I just didn't really associate with myself with. The folks that just wanted to connect. I had a great crew when I came to DC. I had my buddy from the FBI, I had a buddy who was a Navy SEAL, I had a buddy who was a firefighter, I had a buddy who's now the governor, but he wasn't at the time. We all used to kind of hang out, and it was just a very positive environment for all of us. I think we challenged each other, we looked after each other, and over time, everybody kind of gets more senior. I had an internship back in 1994 while I was a naval officer. I was working in the White House, and I remember my boss, Alexis Herman, she just passed away. She was the first Black Secretary of Labor, first woman, uh, and and she said, Dexter, we didn't meet at the top. We've known each other for 25 years or so, and that meant the other cabinet secretaries, that meant the other people in her circle, and I took that to heart. And I look around at my friends now, and they're doing amazing things, and we kind of all came up together. So one of the things I've done in the last couple of years was create a nonprofit called In Network. It's in-network.org. And it's designed to get more young people into national security. It's designed to get more folks into intelligence, diplomacy, law enforcement. It's designed to get young people thinking about traveling and serving. And at the core of it, I'm always pushing, be a good human. Don't be a
Mm.
jerk. The last thing I want to do is work with somebody who has an ego. And it's been 2 years almost. We founded it. Yeah, it'll be 2 years in September, and it's blown up. We have so many young people involved. We're talking at different high schools. People are seeing me and others, my friends, and they realize that they're not different than us, and they can do the same things. I tell them, I said, you guys are probably all better high school students than me. Or I go to different colleges and I tell a bunch of war stories and diplomatic stories, and they go, that's crazy, but that's cool. And you're here and we can touch you and talk to you and you can mentor us. And that to me is giving back. That's what life's about. So all the proceeds for the book, The Spy Archive, go to that nonprofit In Network. So I'm super excited about it. It's being sold in the Spy Museum. It'll be
I
at
was going
Barnes
to
and
ask you if
Noble.
you, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just dropped off crates of books last night. It was really fun because Spy Museum's social media folks were out there filming me and my team, pulling up, dropping off the books. And we have a book signing coming up with my dear friend, John Mendez, who was the former chief of disguise for the CIA. That's going to be September 6th at the Spy Museum. So really, really excited for that. I have an upcoming reading and signing at George Mason University. So
Nice.
it's been a blast.
That is really cool. Yeah, and I kind of immediately went to, oh, you should sell this book in the Spy Museum. It'd be perfect. So yeah, that's great. Tell me something that you found surprising. It could be like micro or macro. It could be like just the whole espionage thing, getting into this world. What shocked you the most, or maybe it's a story about just something that didn't go the way you thought.
The thing that shocked me the most, and I'm going to kind of bounce back a little bit. So, at the core value of who I am, there's no "I told you so." There's no, holding grudges. There's none of that. People make mistakes, and you move on, right? And looking at the book, there's so many people and groups of people that could easily have said, I am being treated really badly. I'm not into this. I'm not going to do this. And that could be a slave like Harriet Tubman or James Lafayette. That could be the code talkers who were Native American Marines during World War II. That could be Alan Turing, who was a gay man during World War II, who figured out the key to solving the Enigma machine. There were so many people that were mistreated that could have taken their toys and gone home, but none of them did. And they literally saved the world in some cases. I mean, whether it's the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War II, things could have gone a lot different. And because of these amazing people behind the scenes, we are where we are today.
Just hearing all your stories, there's a part of me that this might be a silly question. Do you ever think about doing fiction? Because you have all of the background knowledge, and I feel like a lot of these could be finessed into some pretty wild fiction stories.
You're reading my mind because I actually had a call today with a fiction author who has characters based on real life situations because he was a former CIA guy and he knows a lot of, GRU folks and FSB folks and KGB folks. And he does that. He takes, blends that world. I, to be very blunt, I would like to be able to do that, but I just have so much fun with the real stories. Like that's one of the reasons I love being on the board of the Spy Museum, because the truth is better than any fiction you can write sometimes. I'm sure you can kind of push it. And I do like the kind of historical fiction where pieces are true, but then kind of the rest of the story is told where maybe we really don't know key parts of that. But that's something to think about. I think my next book is actually about national security careers, and it's going to be focused on, kind of unmystifying the process to do the things that me and my friends have been able to do. And the one after that, I think, is going to be the war on truth, because truth matters, and there's so much mis and disinformation out there. So I have a couple in the pipeline right now, but I am enjoying the ride of the Spy Archive. It's really surprised me. 2 weeks in, it I think has 113 reviews with a 4.8 rating. I think the readability is really good. It's #1 on Amazon new releases for espionage.
Excellent.
And it's all the money goes to charity. So, if you can go out there and support in any way, that would really mean a difference.
Absolutely. And incidentally, I love the cover. The cover design is really cool.
Thank you. They say you can't judge a book by its cover, but to be very honest, as an author, the cover matters. And, that can turn somebody off right away. I was able to get some really great blurbs on the back too. As soon as my friends heard that I was writing a book, Jana Mendez, she was like, I want to give you a blurb. And if you don't know Jana Mendez, she's the author of The Moscow Rules. I was in Niamey, Niger, a year and a half ago, right before the coup. And I'm in this apartment, and I look on the wall, and they have The Moscow Rules. And I said, you have my friend's book. And they were like, you don't know her. And I was like, she's kind of like a big sister to me. But she had a blurb. Chris Costa, the executive director of the International Spy Museum, who was the former senior director for counterterrorism at the National Security Council, he has a blurb on the back. And it's fascinating because Chris and I were, when he was at the White House and I was at Interpol, Secretary General of Interpol and myself would meet Chris and his boss, the Homeland Security Advisor, in like Paris or London or DC. And just the four of us would meet and kind of talk and strategize on what to do with countering terrorism globally. And that was super special. But when we met years ago, I never knew he was going to run the Spy Museum, and he never knew that I collected spy gadgets. I've been collecting CIA and KGB and Stasi and French resistant gadgets for almost 30 years, and I have a pretty extensive collection. But but you don't do things because of what people can do for you. Again, I can give you 24 times where things have gone full circle, started one way and ended in a way that you never imagined, and putting you in a position where you never dreamed of it. And it's been super positive.
So Dex, before we start to wind down, where can people find you?
Yeah, they can obviously get the book on Amazon, but I'm also starting a Substack. Now that I'm leaving government, I do have a lot of ideas and I have a lot of things to say. And I'm starting a Substack called Codename Citizen. And this is really kind of using my 30 years of experience in national security and counterterrorism to talk about things that we can do better, highlight some issues that maybe others can't highlight. And I'm excited to do that. I also continue working with the nonprofit in-network.
Nice. That is really incredible. I'll definitely put the link to that in the description when they post this. So speaking of your retirement, now that you're kind of coming out from behind the shadows and you're able to retire and have a little bit of a normal life, are we going to see you at more Bond events, particularly things down in DC possibly?
Absolutely. You will see me a lot more. One of the things that I look forward to is not having a 9 to 5. I have been lucky enough to have amazing organizations with amazing people offer me part-time gigs that I could never imagine. In the last few weeks, doors have opened that I didn't even know existed. So I am thrilled to be a part of the Bond community again. I started in the Bond community. I have my Bond gadgets. I'm friends with a lot of, Bond girls and Bond celebrities. But I kind of just got involved with being a dad and trying to make the world a better place for the past probably 20 years or so. So I'm looking forward to getting back into that Bond world and hanging out, whether it's in DC or Pennsylvania or New Jersey or wherever we are, Miami. Let's go.
Awesome. That's really great, honestly. 'Cause like I said, it was great to hang out the time we did, and I feel like it'll be great to see you again at a lot of these events. It's gonna be great. The book is called The Spy Archive, and I'm talking to the author, Dexter Ingram. The Spy Archive, Hidden Lives, Secret Missions, and the History of Espionage. And it is complex. So I think anyone who is interested in this topic is absolutely going to love this book.
Thanks. Really appreciate it, man. So good to see you.
You too, man. I will hopefully see you very soon. And but by the way, there's a DC group now, Capital Royale. I'm sure they would love to meet you at one of their events.
I know Christian, and I did the Spy-Fi Guys podcast a while ago, and I met a young lady recently who's a part of it as well, because we had an event with the Spy Museum at the Hotel Monaco, and I got to plug my book. And surprisingly, that was my last day in the office of Countering Violent Extremism as well. So it was a nice cap to the end of the day.
That's great. That's so awesome. Dex, man, it was great to catch up, man. It was so great to see you. Best to you and the family. And I will be seeing you soon, brother.
Absolutely. Thanks, brother. And congratulations on all your success. So well deserved.